Okay, well, welcome to the KISS Technology Documentary Series, and today I'm interviewing Ross Welch, who's going to talk to you about Sauvage.
Thank you, Neil.
So what is Sauvage then, Ross?
Well, Sauvage is a human way of being that is candid, direct, uncomplicated, and more or less unspoilt by civilization. You could say it's the way of the authentic human being. Sauvage is an old French word that meant, as I said, candid, direct, uncomplicated, etc. And it was first applied in this way to the Huron, particularly to the Huron Indians by French missionaries and explorers in the 17th century, late 17th century. And they saw the Indians as being very, very refined in terms that they lived with nature harmoniously. They never had any sort of family domestic violence. There was respect between the genders, etc., and so forth. And the French held that the Hurons were even more refined than the highest European culture at the time. So what happened then? Later on, the British came, the colonists, and they weren't as amenable to the Hurons, and they had trouble with them, and of course it got into pretty dire conflict, and they found that in those circumstances the Hurons were very brutal and ferocious, and the word sauvage, which formerly was a very positive, had positive connotations, became to mean brutal and ferocious, and etc.
Savage, in fact.
Savage, yes. Right. So that's where we get the word savage from. There have been comments made that basically the reaction or the response of the Native Americans to the French and then the British was mainly because of the French and the British, the different attitudes
they
had to them.
One was into control, the other was more into culture.
One was, that's right. If you can say that the French were more into power with, whereas the British were power over.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's basically what it means.
So are there different aspects to Sauvage?
There are different phases, if you like. You could say that the Hurons were more or less in the pre-modern phase. That is, what I mean by pre-modern is really before, wholesale agriculture, industry, trade, settled communities and things like that. So they were the pre-modern or paleo.
Right, so
Sauvage.
hunter-gatherers.
Yeah. The Native Americans, rather than the Indians, the Native Americans were Sauvage, but probably not as Sauvage as our Australian Aborigines. They were probably the earliest Sauvage that we can look at fairly closely.
Right.
They were nomadic, and
this is the Australian Aborigines.
Yeah, right. So they're even before them, but before the true settled community or agriculture and all the things that the settled community brought forth. Yeah, that's the pre-modern or paleo Sauvage. The next one is the modern Sauvage, and the modern Sauvage is the best of the civilized way of being, and it's the middle. It's the modern, and you can see the Meso or middle Sauvage, modern Sauvage, exemplified by people that live a relatively simple life within the civilized.
They've downsized the screen.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. They've changed the movie as well.
They've changed the movie and
yes,
downsized.
Slightly though.
Slightly.
Yeah, they have
modified the movie and downsized the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
The next phase is the postmodern or emerging Sauvage,
Right.
and that's where we tend to be able to be more authentic than either of the two previous examples, and this is where we will have to somehow, I believe, transcend civilization without bringing it down, so to speak. To me, civilization at the moment, where we're at, tends to be a control measure to prevent outbreaks of barbarism.
Right.
The problem is that civilization is inherently barbaric as we know it. So there's a sort of a vicious cycle between outburst and calm and outburst and
Right.
calm. And we have to transcend that. We're still going to have ups and downs,
Right.
but not so violent. The ups and downs in the civilized world, as you can see today, with all the things that are going on, not just terrorism, but the way the monetary system is going, there's a lot of ups and downs, and it's a very fear-driven situation. So basically, moving into the emergent or neo or postmodern Sauvage is going to require really that we lose our fear. And I guess one of our biggest fears is the fear of dying or the fear of failure. So we need to lose those fears in order to become really authentic.
So what's the mindset of a Sauvage person? Or how is it manifest? And
Well, a Sauvage person, the mindset is based on one sort of statement: do no harm to anyone or anything, and the action is in line with that. That's easy to say, but it's not an easy thing to do. It's simple, but it's about being in the moment, very, very conscious, and it's also about looking at oneself in times of stress and noticing that taking note of the signals that let us know that we're becoming stressed out, and that to resolve that is our responsibility, rather than trying to fix the world so that we don't stress. For instance, it's all about, well, as Socrates says, and know thyself. You've got to know yourself and go, oh yes, I can see what's happening here, and take it's about the self-responsible human being.
right.
That's how it manifests.
Right.
The self-responsible human being in action. That's how it manifests.
Right. So okay. So the mindset of Sauvage is first, and then the civic aspects are a reflection of that, not the other way around.
Yeah, the mindset, it's having that heartfelt, mindful awareness
Right.
of the do no harm
Right.
to anyone or anything. And of course that goes right back to Hippocrates,
Right.
the father of modern medicine. And the first rule is do no harm. But Sauvage, and that applies to medical procedure, I think, mostly today, but the Sauvages do no harm to anyone
Right.
or anything. So it goes into the whole system as a unit, as a circumstance of oneness, if you like.
Right. So the idea of civic duty and responsibility imposed on people is really the cart before the horse.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because Sauvage is something you take on. It cannot be imposed.
Right.
It's like Sauvage. You can't impose love on somebody. It's something that people take on. I'm talking about love in a Sauvage manner. I'm talking about even beyond transformative love into unconditional love. And that's a pretty hard concept for us to gather today.
Right.
It's a hard concept to really understand, to really fathom in today's world, which is bouncing from barbarism back to civilization. But I believe that you can see flashes of it, this unconditional love, and it happens in ordinary everyday circumstances. And that, to me, indicates that Sauvage is possible, because if you can sustain that, well then, you've got a Sauvage way of living. I won't say civilization. Sauvage, to me, in the neo sense, is like co-creation, and it sits above the civilization. So, I would say that what we need to do, instead of being civilized, we need to become more co-creative. That is, working for you and I together, and the rest of the universe.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, well, thanks for that. And maybe we'll have another video on another interest of yours is eldership.
Yes.
So perhaps we'll have another documentary on that then.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, thanks very much, Roscoe.
Thanks, Neil.
And
pleasure.
We'll see you shortly.
Thank you.